One cup of tea later, Kelra's good nature was fraying around the edges. Belder's uncle was difficult, even acerbic when work didn't meet his standards, but Liam had never seen him angry before.
This is what town life gets you. Everybody living by clocks, but nobody gives you the time of day.
I expect you wanted to get back, sir. A lot is going on to prepare for tomorrow.
As if Rovey, Kelra said flatly. People on the ranch expect a big meal from the main house on Draft Rolls Day.
She's the goddess of love and courtship, Liam offered with a smile.
Most people see her that way, Kelra grumbled noncommittally. I've been serving meals for 15 years now. Not one of them's been late or left someone unfed.
That's a lot to be proud of. That's longer than Belle's been alive, Liam offered hopefully, trying to bring her into the conversation. You must have seen a lot of changes.
A few. The ranch has grown. More hands and more families, but that's more mouths to feed. More time to get everything ready. More work to be done. Some days I feel the weight of it all.
Kelra touched the omnipad away from his ear, scowling at the device.
This is no way to listen to Ved Rosk.
I didn't know you liked music.
Liam peered at his empty cup of tea. Another sounded nice, but going outside to pee had taken on its own particular terrors.
Belder told me everything you do on the ranch, the whole trip here. I can't believe you aren't proud of all those meals.
Of course I am. Unfortunately, I'm also a perfectionist. It takes time to care for people and... Hello?
Leaning into his omnipad, Kelra braced himself in his seat.
Yes? Yes! I need you to send out a vehicle recovery lift to the coordinates I'm sending you now, and... My name is not Sweetie. And no, I'm not ready to hold again, except maybe my temper. You have the location? Good. So, just how long should I expect you to be? I see. Yes, I know it's almost a Rovey. And if your pilot is not getting lucky, what are the odds of her getting out here before sundown? I see. Yes. Happy if Rovey.
Kelra tucked away his omnipad on the charging station and folded his arms. Liam canted his head, then a bit more.
So, are they coming?
Kelra peered at him from under his brows.
She said, and I quote, "We'll see you as soon as we can, sweetie. Don't get your undies in a twist."
Liam wanted to sigh. Even more, he wanted to call Priz, but there was no way to have a conversation alone. He didn't sigh, but he wanted to. Reaching down, Kelra opened the flap on a holstered pistol, then stared out of the window into the distance.
No work today, he said heavily.
I'm sorry?
Whenever there was a storm, or during a Rovey, whenever I wake up to one or the other, the first thought that runs through me is, no work today. It's what stormy days meant to me when I was a boy, and the thought ran so deep I've remembered it all these years.
As Kelra gazed out the window, Liam couldn't shake the feeling the old Shilvanti was looking back through the years, instead of off into the distance.
I thought you loved taking care of things and getting work done.
I do, and I did. But I love staying home and spending time with my father and mothers even more.
Kelra turned and looked up at him.
I was a boy once, Mr. Clausen,
he said, as if challenging Liam to believe it was true.
What do you think?
Liam leaned back on the far wall and folded his arms.
Honestly, I think we're going to be here for a while, so...
Kelra arched an eyebrow.
What do you think when you see a storm?
Oh, well, I'm from Canada.
Liam bit his lip. It had taken all week to get a conversation that this wasn't what he'd expected or hoped for.
You shouldn't have to think about it. It's there or it isn't.
Turner's Hill.
The words popped out before he realized.
Turner's Hill.
Kelra repeated the words, and his expression was expectant.
Where I'm from, nothing stopped just for rain, but we did get snow. Turner's Hill was down the road from where I lived. It was where all the kids in the neighborhood would go sledding.
Liam looked away, poring back through his memories. I used to think it was a mountain when I was growing up. Had it only been 7 years, as he knew them on Earth? Suddenly, those years seemed very long, and like no time at all. Before I came to see my sister, I saw it again. It was just a sloping lawn. Nothing special at all, he said, grinning wryly. Kara's expression was unreadable as a stone. Embarrassed, Liam pulled himself away. Would you like another cup of tea? Maybe something else? There's bottles of everything back here.
Well, we've got the time, and it looks like I'm not driving for a while. There's a bottle of Garpark tucked in the third cabinet. The green bottle. I expect you won't need the steps to reach.
Liam scrambled back and poked through the cupboard, pulling out the bottle. The only green one, it had an unfamiliar language scrawled across the front. Liam sniffed at the bottle after opening it. The smell was sharp, and he poured a glass, passing it forward before fishing out his omnipad. Sir, I know you're counting on the town, but do you mind if I call Pris? Liam asked with a hint of frustration. Yes, they were called in, and no, he wasn't stepping outside. That didn't mean they shouldn't call the ranch, even if it might embarrass Kelra over his driving. I don't want her to worry about us if we're late. Kelra stared into his glass.
Egrai Garpark, leader of the Garpark clan and largely responsible for the Rakiri clans keeping their rights to hunt.
What? Liam said absently, poking at his omnipad.
Egrai Garpark, credited with the creation of this drink which bears her name.
Kelra stared into his glass.
Would you like to try some?
No thanks, sir. I'll stick with tea for a while. The bottle was the only one of its kind in the truck. Dusty and stuck off to the side, he didn't want to deprive Kelra of his drink of choice. I wish I could get hold of Belle, but I know Pris is expecting me. She's pretty determined when she sets her mind on something. Kelra's expression was inscrutable as he sipped his drink. Feeling the conversation slipping away from him, Liam perked up. Sir, as long as we're going to be here for a while, what if I cook us some dinner? I've been practicing.
I've seen.
Kelra settled lower into his seat and peered out toward the horizon.
What are you planning to make?
Liam peered through the travel fridge at the things they had in stock. It looks like we have some Turox cutlets.
Cutlets? Cutlets are good. How are you going to prepare them?
Kelra asked.
Cutlets are good. How are you going to prepare them?
Kelra asked. It was his kitchen voice, and the question sounded like a test question. There's not much back here, but there's some butter, he said, poking through the fridge and looking at what was still in the pantry. I could fry them up with a sauce.
Kelra grunted in an offhand way. I only ask because heavily fried food doesn't agree with me.
One lightly fried Turox cutlet coming up, he promised. It was a test, but he had this one down.
Well, the sooner the better. Never keep hungry people waiting. And we don't want to be stuffing our faces when they come to pull us out. Honestly, though, it's been a long day and I'm starving.
Kelra looked at him appraisingly.
In the meantime, I suppose we have each other's company over a promising dinner.
Liam smiled at that. After all his hard work, it actually sounded like a compliment. He'd always worked hard growing up. There hadn't been any choice, but rewards mattered too. Sir, would you mind if I did try some of your Garpark? I'm not much for red grain or blue grail, and I don't know the other things stocked up back here.
Be my guest.
Kelra washed as he poured a glass, gave it a sniff, braced himself, and took a sip. This is really nice.
I'm glad you like it. You know, I'm also glad you called Mr. Sane. I probably should call Kurlak. He worries about me almost as much as my sister used to.
Kelra nodded, peering into his glass before pointing at Liam and shaking his finger.
That's the important thing. Relationships that last. Even when you wish people would stop fussing over you, You still spend your time hoping they won't.
I suppose I never thought about it that way, but it is.
Liam bit his lip, looking over the glass in his hand. It looked expensive, and they'd been sitting with the bottle.
Where did these come from? The glasses, I mean. They're nice.
They were my father's, and my grandfather's before him.
Kelra turned the glass over in his hand, looking at the pale amber liquid as it rolled.
Oh my gosh, I'd never have used these if I'd known.
Why not?
Kelra looked up, cocking his head.
I'd be afraid to break them.
Kelra looked back down at his glass and shook his head.
Always use beautiful things.
Always use beautiful things. It's just, I keep them safe for a special occasion or something.
No occasion is so special you should lock things away from your life.
Kelra raised his glass.
My mother was given a very fine bottle of Garpag, by Kurlek's mother, as it happens, when my mother invited their family to settle. She kept putting off opening it for some more special occasion. Then, finally, on her deathbed, she asked for it. It was brought, we opened it, we all drank it, and it was wonderful. It was also too late. She hadn't lived to taste a drop.
Kelra raised his glass, closing his eyes as he took a sip. Liam stared down at his own. The old Shilvanti made sure that the food truck and the meals served back at the ranch were always the very best. At first he thought it was just a treat for the holiday, but Kurlek had told him it was all year long. Everyone ate the best that Kelra could provide. No one hungry ever waited.
This other girl of yours, this Pris, what does she study? He asked after a moment.
Well, she's at the academy with Belder. Belle's studying business management to help run the ranch, but Pris, well, her family's in the law. She sort of lives and breathes it. I want her to be my girl, but, well, we just properly met on the ship here. She and Belle are best friends, and I get it. Really, I do. I feel it too. There's something between the three of us.
Few things are more dangerous than shipboard romances. That kind of thing that messes with a man's mind,
Kelra said, watching as he finished the cutlets, setting them on a tray before covering them lightly with the butter sauce he'd made.
I remember one summer I went to Shill. My mothers wanted me to see both ends of our business, and on the way I met a young officer. There we were, cursing out toward the system limit with nothing but the stars around us. And suddenly I thought, sweet Empress, I'm falling in love with this woman. What will I tell my mother? What can I say to my family?
What did you tell them?
Not a thing. I love my home, but I spent the days outbound from Willis trying to decide how to tell my first love in life that I found a new one. But then I was on Shill, and I found that the first love in my life was where I wanted to be. It seemed a more substantial choice than following someone around the stars, and I know in my heart time's proven me right.
Liam's brow furrowed. This might turn out to be a shipboard romance, but in my gut, I don't think so. Though this trip may be a test of our relationship. I know she's been out in town, so you've barely seen her, but there's a lot to her. She's intelligent, and she's very determined when it comes to what she wants.
So you said. So is our Belder. I suspect most girls at that academy are. Shill offers a lot of fine schools, but that academy gets some of the brightest, so that's where Belder was determined to go.
Kelra cut into the Turox, tasting it thoughtfully.
What about human girls back on Earth? No romances there?
There were some. Some were pretty and some were smart, but I grew up thinking there ought to be more to a relationship.
Liam shrugged, thinking back to the empty club scenes, such as they'd been.
One thing was being ready. I don't think anyone I knew was ready for a real relationship, and neither was I.
Usually seems to be the problem. Too many young folks don't appreciate what's permanent.
Kelra shook his head, then looked at him sharply.
Let me tell you something. When I was younger, there were times I thought I was missing out. But I've seen real relationships. The ones that last.
And I became convinced I should wait for the right one. No matter how normal or humdrum or dull, I decided that being married to someone you truly love is a whole lot more exciting, interesting, and just plain gratifying than any wild fling.
I think my greatest fear, well, it was how I was raised. My sister wasn't there and my family was gone. Liam swallowed, thinking about how he'd grown up. He made a lot of choices at a young age, but somehow it felt like he'd made the right ones. I've always been afraid I'd get old and never really find that special person. I mean, really love somebody. Now, when I wasn't expecting it, it looks like I've got two. It's just, I more or less grew up without real family, so it's the one thing I never wanted to take for granted.
Kelra paused between bites and set aside his knife and fork. You know, I was under the impression most people from your world seemed afraid of commitment.
Well, I got to admit, it's a conflict. Humans want committed relationships, but after the Imperium arrived, people got hurt. My family got torn up, and I can see how our movies might make the galaxy think we're kind of flaky, but it's hard when there are so many changes. Everyone wants love, but how do you keep that alive for a lifetime when there's so much confusion? Growing up the way I did, it sometimes felt like it would take a miracle to commit to someone.
You're aware that Belder's parents are dead? My sister, her mother, she and her husband never had the chance to find a co-bleeper bream before they were killed. It was just the two of them.
Liam nodded. No one's explained how it happened, and I didn't want to ask the wrong thing.
A ranch is a dangerous place. Accidents happen, even to experienced people. Before they went out that day, my sister left me to watch Belder. I've been doing it ever since. Kelra shook his head. They were married for only a few years, but they never wasted time thinking about if they were committed or not. They were together, and that's enough when you're living with someone who knows you better than anyone else in creation. When you have that and love each other, that's its own miracle.
Well, humans are still getting married, now more than ever. I just wasn't sure I got it. A lot of people still fear the Imperium. I guess they just want to get around to the important stuff before the world changes again, into something they won't understand.
Fear? I wouldn't think anyone would make that kind of choice out of fear instead of love.
You think so, and that's what humans say, but it's not what we do. Humans don't build relationships the same way as Shovanti, but they do matter just as much to us.
Liam shrugged. Here they were talking about relationships. Here he was, finally reaching between worlds, across the gulfs of age and experience and even species. And he froze.
I guess it sounds silly, but if I told you the trouble I was having, you wouldn't understand.
Kelra scowled up at him thunderously. Why do you think I wouldn't understand, when you can't even tell me what's the matter? If you aren't having trouble being here, then what exactly is your trouble?
It's you. Well, no. It's you and me, he blurted, feeling like he was starting to babble. It's me, trying to talk to you. He pushed away his dinner tray in frustration. Me in relationship to you, I guess.
Oh, for goddess' sake, don't act like you're having a snit. Just say whatever you're trying to say.
What I've been trying to ask, the reason I've worked so hard, it's...
Yes?
Liam opened his mouth. He tried. He really tried. It was all there, but it was all so much. Too much. The weight of years growing up without a real family, then being dropped into a huge one. How could he express the feelings tearing at him in a way that a Shovanti man, particularly one as different as Kelra, could understand? I just can't.
Liam, whatever it is, just say it, please.
Kelra, using his name, hit him like a slap in the face. Did you just call me Liam?
That sometimes happens when I'm angry, Kelra said tersely. Life's too short to waste your breath, so whatever it is, would you please just get to the point?
I came here for a vacation. I came here with Belder, who I'm crazy about, and along the way it turned into both of them. So that's why I've been working so damned hard. I know I wasn't raised to this, but I want to show you I can be a part of her life.
And your work, once you learn things, has been quite good, Kelra nodded, subsiding as he took another bite of his cutlet.
Liam threw up his hands in frustration. Then why didn't you say that? Koa looked at him as if he'd grown a second head.
Merciful goddess, why should I say that? You decided to show me you were able to fit in. Good. Do you think that needs a pat on the head and constant praise? Do you think anyone else on the ranch does?
Was that Shorvanti thinking? No, it couldn't be. Something alien to his understanding seemed like an easy out. No, this was a Kelra thing. But, sir, a little praise never hurt anyone doing their job or giving their best.
Oh, for goddess's sake, stop sulking. You're an adult. You've done good work, and you shouldn't need me to say so. If you know you've done your best, that's what matters. You shouldn't need me, or anyone else, to tell you.
But it's nice to get praise, isn't it? Particularly from family. Liam couldn't believe he said it aloud. How could he explain growing up with no one to someone who had no one by choice, and still had everyone? I'm sorry. My life growing up was complicated in all the wrong ways. That wasn't fair trying to put my confusion on you.
That's the problem you get in towns. Everybody talking and no one listening, so you have to talk more. Embroider everything just to say something until there's so much exaggeration things lose their real significance.
Kelra gave him a stony look, then nodded briefly, as if making up his mind.
When I was young, I shoveled the Regoy stalls for my mother. Other boys, the ones out in town, got paid when they did chores. I did it without pay just to see her smile. Just doing my part for my mother was enough. It taught me the value of good work.
But she did smile, and I bet she told you it was good work. Kelra sighed, but it was quiet this time, bereft of exasperation and ire.
Liam, I am not your father.
But that's the thing, sir. You kind of are. Not just to Belder, but to everyone around you. I know what I've seen. You made yourself into the father of everyone on the ranch. But there's a responsibility that goes along with that too.
Kelra looked out the window. We are as the gods to the Turoks of this world. We alter the times of their births and their deaths, and in between we shape the course of their lives. That's the thing about responsibilities. Once you pick them up, sometimes they're very hard to set aside.
He turned then and looked him in the eye.
If you're truly ready, you don't need me to tell you who to dance with.
The worst part hadn't been the return to the ranch, or spending the rest of the time talking with Kelra. It wasn't the anxious throng of women who were waiting for them when they pulled in, either. No, the worst part was that Pris wouldn't believe him. In fairness, he spent the time since she returned telling her how Kelra was cold as a stone, but as he sat in the kitchen later that night, he'd done his best. And I tell you, it's like he's a whole other person when you get to know him. Really. Underneath it all,
Mr. Clarkson!
Liam looked up. He'd been so intent on talking to Pris that he hadn't heard Kelra at the door. Yes, sir?
The kitchen was clean for the evening. Tomorrow is a big day. I expect it to be spotless when I walk in here in the morning.
Kelra peered at him.
I trust that won't be a problem, Mr. Clarkson.
No, sir. I'll pick up before we turn in. Kelra gave him a long look, then turned away, disappearing up the hall. Oh yeah, he's soft on you, Pris snickered. He is, really. Sure. Practically hugged you good night. Still, none of that mattered. That had been the night before. Drafel's Day. The goddess of joy and timeless things. The matchmaker. She who watches over new love. The party started long before sunset, just outside the big house. Liam stood behind the long bench, serving food with the other men, as woman after woman passed on by, giving him winks as they piled their plates high. There being laughter and jokes, long stories and tall tales. He knew the food and drink were the best. He'd helped make it himself. After clearing away the tables, the ranchers began drifting away to the lake, just down the hill. It was winter back in Shill, but here it was a warm summer evening, and families spread blankets to sit along the hill, watching as the sun dipped low on the horizon and the stars came out.
There was still laughter, but there was a hush, interrupted only by the occasional squeal of children or the faraway shriek of a Rigoi. It was a perfect summer night. Not that you'd know it from the expressions on Belle and Pris. He and Pris had talked another hour after Kara left the kitchen. She told him about the rest of her time in town. The lien on the Sasona ranch was covered, and after Pris made some heavy concessions to the lawyer she'd been working for, their part in taking care of the matter would be kept quiet. Money had changed hands, and money would be paid back once the Sasonas brought their herd to sale. They decided not to tell another soul. At least, not yet. Whatever the ranchers felt about them, they could do it without feeling obligated. Liam hadn't agreed with all of the deal. From the sound of things, the lawyer in town, a woman named Kangshri, had her hooks in Pris and was determined to reel her in as an intern. He felt leery on the idea, given that Pris seemed to be under a barrel, but she didn't seem to mind. Starting an internship years ahead of time was a real feather in her cap. Apprehensive but proud, she was more concerned about telling her mothers. That and staying away from Kangshri, who perched beside Kelra over dinner, looking their way. It meant long summers for Pris and Belle here on Willist. It also meant talking with Hope as one adult to another, but Earth was weeks away from Shill. Willist was only a couple of days. Hope had her whole life there. It was time to make his. So, they explained the dance to you? Builder, while at ease roping monsters from the back of a fuzzy velociraptor wannabe, was looking at him with both hope and fear in her eyes. It's just, I know you came all this way, but it's a big deal to folks here. If you wanted to wait, I mean, I'd like it a lot, but I don't want you to feel trapped into it, you know? She was wringing her hands before sticking them behind her back. You too, Pris. I know it's not how things are done back in Atherton, but it's, relax, Willist, Pris said smoothly. Somehow she'd acquired a thick rancher's shirt to wear, complete with the riding chaps everyone wore. Naturally, the shirt was pressed. If you're dancing, then so am I. Just make sure I don't fall on my face. Besides, it's still his choice. There had been words, then, under the twilight sun, before Belle and Pris drifted down to the lake. There was no ocean on Willist, so the Shrivanti made bonfires on a raft they pushed out onto the lake. As the sun set and the flames arose, it was Ivrovi. The sun over Willist wasn't Shill, but it was in their hearts. But that didn't matter. All of that had been before, too. So it was Liam found himself lined up in the torchlight when the music began. As one of 3 eligible men, it was only him, a boy he'd seen working in the Rigoi stables, and Kelra. Circled before them, about 20 women joined hands, facing out from the center. The music was unfamiliar, yet simple. Each note was sharp and clear, falling in the gathered darkness like droplets of rain. As they stood in place, the women began the dance. It wasn't anything difficult, just a slow in and back, as rhythmic as the seasons. One by one, they came in front of the 3 of them. One by one, they passed. Kelra didn't look over at him, but cocked his head. I expect you to dance with those girls, Mr. Claassen. Liam looked over, down at the Shrivanti man, but it felt like he was looking up to him, too. Don't worry. I am, sir. It's not you I'm worried about, Liam. Kelra sighed, staring at the circle as if bracing for a storm. You've got my little girl, and all these years are long enough. And then he was gone, off in the arms of the lawyer from town. There were cheers and whistles and exclamations of surprise. He was certain he heard someone behind him say, About time! Pris stumbled and nearly fell over. But then she was there. Her hand joined with Belder's. That was before as well. This was now. The boy from the stables had been last. With a whoop and envious cheers, he jumped into the waiting arms of one of the riders. When the time came, he stepped forward, taking one of Belle's hands, and his other reached out and took hold of Pris's. There had been cheers and cries of disappointment, but there was another dance. Life went on. Now there was only the song, and with all the men taken, the music turned to words as the band played on. My love for you is as wild and true as the wind or the sea. On winter nights so bleak and cold it always will remain. On summer eves when the breeze whispers your name. There was nothing back for him on Earth. The only family he gave a damn about was on Shill, and right here. You could feel everything for a place, and for the first time he had what he'd always wanted, as he circled in time with Belle and Pris. His parents had been gone when he was too young to remember them well. His cousin had sometimes tried, but never really from the heart. As much as he truly loved his sister, Hope had been gone, and cagey as she was, it seemed like she had people of her own. And with a song it carries on through the skies of blue. At the end of time you'll still be mine, and I'll be here with you. He had what he needed most. Not money or nightlife or big city lights. He'd go back to Shill and make his peace with Hope. Propose a wedding to the girls after their school broke for summer. He'd cross the bridge he needed, reach the far side of the channel, and when he came home, it would be to Willist. There was a hill above the lake where people could gather when the work was over. From it you could see the glittering night unfold with the people you loved, and watch the shooting stars stream across the sky like ribbons of fire when the day was done. And my love, like the light above, shall shine eternally. At the end of time you'll still be mine, and I'll be here with thee.